Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Houston, Texas, the humidity capital of the world, it's time for Money for Lunch, where we feed your brain and your business with supersized portions of business and financial news. Now your host, Bert Martinez.
Welcome to Money for Lunch. I am your guest host for today, Catherine Lee, filling in for Bert Martinez. But first up, we'll be talking with Doug Duerr. Doug is a healthy living life coach. He is an author, speaker, and yoga teacher, and he recently hit #1 in 2 different Amazon.com bestseller lists with his new book, The Wellness Code, Your Ultimate Guide to Health, Fitness, and Nutrition. Doug, welcome to the program.
Well, thanks for having me, Catherine. Good to hear you.
It's a pleasure to have you. Now, you've been a coach and a writer for several years now. How does it feel to be a new best-selling author?
Well, as you can imagine, it's an amazing feeling to validate yourself into that status. But the most rewarding part, Catherine, is that when you work as a coach in healthy living and you're wanting to inspire people, you work with a few hundred or maybe a few thousand, but when you reach this status, you're touching so many other lives. I mean, when we reached this, we were all amazed on April the 12th that, we hit bestseller on 2 lists, and you know that the people that are going to have this work in their hands are going to truly have some transforming experiences. So that's the best reward.
Oh, that's quite an accomplishment. I'm sure that you and your team must be so thrilled about that. Tell us a little bit about the message that you are trying to relay in your book and, that you're trying to relay to your clients and customers.
Well, there's so much out there as far as health and fitness and nutrition, and we see it in the media, we see it on TV, you pick up magazines, and people are getting little tidbits here and there. And what I often find in teaching yoga, or I work at the YMCA also, is people, they jump into healthy living or what they think maybe healthy living looks like, and they don't realize there's a balance that needs to be there. You've got to have all the components. And my particular part was creating a balance or creating a roadmap to bring people into that balance using nutrition and fitness, but also that third component is the spirituality of all of it, which is what guides us in that true inner self, our higher self.
Okay, you talk a lot about balance. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? What do you mean when we should, try to accomplish balance in our lives? What are we talking about?
Well, in anything, it could be relationships, it could be in your career, in the workplace, or in your fitness regimen. People want to experience that blissfulness or that calmness, and we have a very busy lifestyle. So the approach that I've been able to take with a lot of clients that's been successful, and first actually, started with myself, is to really find what inspires you and expand on that, and then move into healthy nutrition. You feel better when you eat better. It's true that we are what we eat, and it directly affects how we feel. And using that and getting moving, not enough people are moving enough these days, and increasing your cardio, and then also bringing that spirituality back into life. Whatever you call it and whatever it means for you, it needs to be a component. And those 3 together create that balanced lifestyle.
I see. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I understand that you're not just coaching and writing about wellness, but you're also a children's author. Can you tell us a little bit about the books that you've written for children and where we can find them?
Yes, that's really exciting for me also. When I decided that I was going to pursue the writing career even further, I started with the children's books, and that's a series called The Adventures of Jazz and Elliot. And they can be found at anyone's favorite online retailer, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. The Adventures of Jazz and Elliot is a colorful children's series. 2 little Shih Tzus go on their adventure with their best friend, Danielle, and it creates a imaginative playground for kids that they can really explore the imagination in color and in vivid detail and wacky, crazy adventures that kids always love. And the first one came out in May of 2010, and the second in the series came out just the beginning of this year. And the whole gang is on another adventure now, so we'll see what comes out in book 3.
Oh, that sounds really exciting. What are some of the themes in these books? What is the overall message that you're trying to send to your young readers?
It's the creativity. It's, you know, kids have a vivid imagination, and oftentimes today they're sitting down. We all know this. They're playing video games, and they're not really using their own creativity. So it encourages that. It shows them adventures that a little girl can take with two talking little dogs and where they can go and what they can do, and it enhances that creativity that children already have. In bright, vivid, one of my favorite parts about the series is the colors and the pages are really bright and vivid. So it's great for the pre-reader and the young and the early reader.
Well, that's really important. I think that you make a great point about how important it is for our children to still be inspired to be creative. I think that you're right. Children are spending so much more time, you know, in front of the computer screen or the TV screen. Sometimes it's difficult for today's children to be able to have that opportunity to be creative. So I think that it's wonderful that you're providing a space that encourages that. Doug, we're going to take a really quick commercial break. Stick around, and we will be right back in about 1 minute.
Sounds great.
Tune in Monday through Friday here on Money for Lunch, and check out our website at moneyforlunch.com.
Welcome back. We've been chatting with Doug Duerr, who is a healthy living life coach. Doug, let's switch gears a little bit. You mentioned this earlier. There's a lot of information in the world about wellness and fitness and nutrition. A lot of times it's hard for consumers to discern between all of this information. How have you been able to bridge all that and watch with so much media attention on the subject of getting healthy?
Well, thanks, Catherine. That is an awesome question. When I sit and I first have that meet and greet with someone, I want to find out what their career goals are or perhaps their fitness goals. And a lot of times, you know, you hear the word diet, and I have an aversion to that word because diet seems so temporary. I like to encourage people to adopt a lifestyle of healthier living and healthy eating. As we know, Catherine, there is so much out there, but there's also a lot out there that's toxic. And what I mean is, you know, in the fruits and the vegetables and even some of the meats that we eat, you know, they've been injected or treated with hormones and antibiotics and things that are just not good for us. So an educated consumer is most important, and I like to bring that first to the table and let them know a little bit more about it. And that's why I've aligned with my company, Isogenics International, which is truly an ethical and bringing the true meaning of food back to the body. And, you know, our food has got to nourish us, our vitamins, our minerals. I mean, we don't have it naturally. We've got to be able to put it in. So I think nutrition is a key place to start once you make the decision, because you do better when you feel better.
You're right, and you bring up a really great point about, you know, the word diet. And I think that it's really important for people to get out of the habit of, you know, thinking about diet and then also being attracted to these labels that are labeled as diet foods or low-calorie foods, because oftentimes these are the exact kinds of foods that are injected with the, you know, they're full of those chemicals and preservatives that we are trying to avoid. Would you say that it's a lot more important to actually look at the ingredients that are going into these foods as opposed to worrying about the calorie content?
Absolutely, Catherine. We've got to be able to read and know more. There's so many big businesses out there that are in it for the money, and you really need to read and know what's going in your body. I mean, we've got to do that, especially now, even with something's a diet as all healthy or all natural. You need to read beyond that. Sometimes that can just be a marketing gimmick to sell the product. So we've got to educate ourselves, and I pride myself in that, and I'm passionate about inspiring people to do that. And, you know, education is key in all of these areas.
Absolutely. Education is definitely key. And I like what you said about, you know, not being misled by all natural labels. And I think that that's really important, too. Doug, has writing, nutrition, and fitness always been your career path?
Well, I think writing always has. From a small child, I've been writing, and journalism was one of my favorite things in school. And I don't know that the nutrition was. I don't think it was something on the forefront of my mind, but somewhere in there it was, because I spent most of my career in commercial real estate. And commercial real estate, which I still have a huge passion for, here in Houston especially, that's really where I spent most of my time.
So how did you go from, commercial real estate to, coaching and writing and yoga? That's quite a leap to make.
Well, it is. I mean, people hear, like, you've got this big commercial real estate background, and then you're a coach and a writer, and you teach yoga. I run into friends and colleagues all the time that say, so what buildings are you working on now? And I'm like, well, I'm on my way to teach a yoga class, and it's usually pretty funny. What I found is that, and I bring this to everyone I speak to, is that in that career I found what made me the most happy, and that was working with the people, whether it's the tenants or the owners or the partners, or especially I did a lot of training, bringing new managers in to train them in the field, and it was that coaching and teaching aspect that I loved the most. And that's what took me beyond that, because I thought I could expand this and work with people in all aspects of life. And that's what kind of led me into the writing and more into the coaching. And then when I wanted to inspire myself to be my best self, I discovered yoga. And along the way, I discovered it and fell in love with it, became certified, and started teaching it. So I love my classes. I teach at the YMCA, and it's like a family there. We show up 3 times a week, and I have a great group of people, and I bring them a lot of the messages along with the yoga too, because I believe that it's part of getting to that balanced part, and you live a happier life when you're that way.
Wow, that sounds like quite an adventure, and you're definitely diverse in your areas of skill. I also understand that you are involved with grief support. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, a lot of things like this can come in our lives through profound changes, and I had an incredible amount of losses in my life, my mother, my brother, my sister, all within a few years. And through that process, I had a choice to make. I could live in this victim state of consciousness and why me, and I did for a while. But what I also found that you can use these things, these tragedies that happen in your life, to do more for yourself and more for others. And that's what led me into creating a space. And I do workshops with Reverend Mindy Lawrence here in Houston, 6 weeks workshops, 4 times a year. And it's Unity Houston, and you can find them online, unityhouston.org. And the workshops are 6 weeks long, and we take people from the beginning stages, wherever they are with the loss, and we take them to the other side. And I have to tell you, and I say heart work, it comes from the heart, because it's something, when you see someone's life, they feel like it's over, they're in a devastated place, and you see them transform to the other side, and they can live again. That's the most beautiful feeling you could ever want. And I'm passionate about it. I've been doing that for the last 4 years, and I plan to continue that, because it's another transformation you see in people's lives.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear about your losses, but I'm so motivated by what you said and what you've done. It's wonderful that you're able to, channel that grief and that energy and turn it into something positive and, be a support system for others that are going through the same thing. I think that that's such wonderful and rewarding work. Doug, we're running out of time here today. Thank you so much for being on the program. How can our listeners find you?
Thank you so much, Catherine. My email address is coach@todayismine.net, and my website is the same. It's www.todayismine.net. And that's my website, that's my email address, and of course on Facebook, that's where everybody seems to be. The Adventures of Jazz and Elliot, they have their own fan page, the children's book on Facebook, and My Life Coaching is also on Facebook. So I'm out there, I'm everywhere, and I really enjoyed being with you today, Catherine.
Thank you so much for all of that great information, Doug, and it was a pleasure speaking with you. We hope to have you on the program again soon.
Tune in Monday through Friday here on Money for Lunch, and check out our website at moneyforlunch.com.